All right, excellent. I think we're ready to start then. Hello and welcome everyone to this induction event from the Fachschaft, and welcome to Heidelberg. Actually, this is a different and difficult time at the moment to give this presentation, so probably most of you aren't in Heidelberg. For example, myself, I'm not in Heidelberg as well. I'm giving this presentation here from London, UK, but I think we're going to cope with it very fine, and it should all work. We've tried it before. I hope we won't reach the maximum number of participants right now. We're 48 people in this call. If we do so, we probably have to look how we deal with it. But yeah, we'll see. Just to let you know, we are going to record this call, this presentation, so that if someone doesn't make it into the video call, they can later on watch the video. So you probably might not want to turn on your webcam if you mind being on the video. If you don't mind, you can just turn on the video. It's completely fine for me to see you, however you would like to do so. Cool, and of course you can also later on find the slides here online on mathphys.info/tricks masterinfo.pdf. I don't actually know how to delete the results of our poll. But yeah, I can post the link later on somewhere in the chat if you want to see the slides online, or probably do it right now for you. This is the URL to find the slides. All right, then I'll probably introduce myself first. I'm Tom. I'm studying applied computer sciences in the Masters in Heidelberg. But as I told you, at the moment, I'm abroad in London studying medical physics and biomedical engineering. I'm sorry, my bell is just ringing. Give me a second, I'll just have a look. So, excuse me, I'm really sorry. I just had to go to the door and open it to have a look who's there. So I stopped when I was introducing myself. So I'm studying applied computer science in Heidelberg, but at the moment I'm in London. And I can probably answer quite a lot of questions regarding the master's program of computer science in Heidelberg, but not about all the other programs. But there are some other colleagues of mine in this call who are happy to answer your questions as well. So what is this presentation all about? First of all, we have a look at what to study in Heidelberg. So what are the modules you can learn about? Then how to study. So what is the practical organization of how to study? Then a bit about locations in Heidelberg. So where you find which lecture halls. I know at the moment it's a bit tricky and difficult because everything is online. But of course, you'll probably go back to on campus somewhere hopefully soon. And then it will be good for you to know where to find which lecture hall and which canteen. But of course, in this talk, I'll also try to cover most of the recent changes of how the faculties are coping with the coronavirus and an online semester. Then a bit about getting advice and some other thoughts about everyday life as a student in Heidelberg. And in the end, we've got a large Q&A session. You're always welcome to ask your questions during this talk in the chat. Then I can answer them directly, just read them out. But you can also ask them later. And we're going to do a break room session afterwards. So that'll be split up into 4 rooms. So 5 rooms for the 5 master programs we have. And then you can ask your specific questions regarding your programs in these rooms. So if you have got questions that's not of interest for everyone, then you might just ask them in that breakout room, not here in the general room. All right. Most of you have probably seen something similar to this. It's more or less a table of your modules, and it's just a suggestion what kind of modules you do in the first semester, the second semester, third and fourth. And yeah, basically you find it in your module handbook, and it gives you a rough idea of what to study. But if you just look at it, you don't really get what sort of modules are these and what do you have to do there, where have to you sign in. This is what this presentation tries to explain to you. And in the next couple of slides, we're going to have a look at the different types of modules and how they work in Heidelberg. So the module type that you're probably most familiar with are lectures. Probably every one of you already attended lectures in your undergrad. In Heidelberg and probably in the entire German system, lectures are really a type of module where you have little interaction. It's mostly unidirectional, the teaching. So the lecturer stands in front, gives a presentation. At the moment, they probably don't stand in front, but just give a presentation online like I'm doing at the moment here on HiConf. Or they probably just prefer other platforms, but they probably just teach you some lecture content, perhaps also just in a video, which is not live. And yeah, then 10 to 200 students just attend this lecture or virtually attend this lecture. There are some really small courses in Heidelberg, but also some really large courses. For example, the machine learning modules are usually quite big. So depending on the module size this term, there will be different online solutions for it. If you've got a small lecture, will be probably taking place in HiConf or something like that. If it's a larger lecture with 200 students, might be some YouTube live stream, or there's even some videos that are not live that you just read online or watch online. Usually you don't have to attend the lectures, but of course it makes a lot of sense to go there because that's where the content is covered. You know what the lecturer covered and whatnot, and you can ask questions in the lecture. So of course it makes sense to go to the lectures or attend them online this semester. In the end, there will be a written exam or an oral exam, depending on the lecture size. And usually this determines your grade. And often you've got some problem sheets, and you have to solve them on a weekly or fortnightly basis. And they're often mandatory in some forms, or in some lectures you have to achieve a certain threshold of points on these problem sheets. And then you can then you're allowed to write the exam or do the oral exam in the end. And other lectures you have to present your results in the tutorials. That really varies from lecture to lecture. And as I just told you, the lectures are often accompanied by tutorials. And that's the next module. It's not a module type, but a type of event for your studies. So these tutorials are usually once a week, and a PhD student or a postdoc is tutoring it. And it's an event where a smaller number of students gather, and they've got the chance to ask questions and discuss the problem sheets. And yeah, sometimes you have to go there, sometimes not. It really depends. But of course, if you want to learn a lot, then you go to your tutorials, because that's where you can discuss all the minor details. And sometimes that's where you present your problem sheet. So you really have to go there. And it often makes sense to ask the questions regarding the lecture content here, because then you can have a discussion as well, and only ask the really important questions on lectures that are of interest to everyone. But if you have some minor questions, you can just ask your tutor in the tutorial. Cool. The next type of studies is our seminars. This is a module where you, as a student, give the talk. So it's the other way around, that the students present the content. So usually they read a paper or a book chapter in advance, prepare this in a small talk, and present it to the other students. It's usually about 5 to 15 students, sometimes more, sometimes less. Really depends on the subject. Usually you have to go there, of course. Otherwise it wouldn't make sense if you don't go to your seminar. And it also depends on your subject. If you have to register for the seminar at the end of the preceding semester or at the beginning of the next semester, just have a look online and you'll find out when to register. And in some seminars, you have to hand in a written report or sometimes a handout. It really depends on the seminar. But depending on your presentation and your report or handout, you'll be given a mark in the end. So another module type are practicals. Actually, they're most common in computer science and physics. This is where you do some practical work, as the name says. They don't really have fixed time slots. You just start them whenever you want to, and it's often a good idea to do a practical, a beginner's advanced version. Both are offered. To do them in advance in advance of a master thesis, so that you're already starting a project there, getting into the content, and then start your master thesis based on this practical. Usually there's an introductory meeting at the beginning of the semester where several groups present their practicals, so it makes sense to go there and have a look if there's some interesting practicals, and then to just register for them. In some of the programs our faculties offer, there are application areas. For example, in computer science on maths, but also I think in scientific computing, you have to choose a subject that is not your own one. So, for example, you choose medicine, or I don't know, could be whatever subject the Heidelberg University offers. So you could also just study biology or whatever. And you have to take some modules from this other subject so that you get some knowledge from the application area. There are lots of possibilities. If you don't want to study one of the prearranged ones, you can also build your own one, but then you have to get it approved from the examinations office. You can later on ask questions about this if you already have some areas in mind that you want to study, but usually it's no problem to choose whatever subject you want to from what Heidelberg offers. There are also in some programs these key competences, so there are some extra skills that you should learn during your studies. They are not directly subject related, but of course it often makes sense to also have these skills in the end of your studies, so they're always good to have them. Usually they're not graded, it really depends on your program, and yeah, you can choose really a lot of things. In some programs you can even use a semester abroad as one of these key competences to get some credits for that. But usually what you do is some language courses or something like that for these key competences. And the last module is your master's thesis in the end. And that's, of course, probably one of your major questions already. How do you find a supervisor? In what institution am I going to write this master thesis? What is the field of interest that I want to write my thesis in? So you probably already want to start now thinking about it and then selecting your lectures or your modules based on what kind of thesis you want to write later on. So if you want to go to theoretical physics, then you probably want to do some theoretical physics lectures already in your first master semesters so that you can easily write master thesis in that subject. Often some of the supervisors want you to have attended their lectures or their seminars or do a practical in their working group before you start a master thesis under their supervision. There are sometimes some other regulations when you can start your thesis and stuff like that, but you should probably have a look into the regulations document, how to register a master's thesis later on. Just to give you an idea what kind of institutions there are. So there are, first of all the institutes of our faculties where you can write a thesis, but you can also go to some other research institutions in Heidelberg, for example, the DKFZ, so the Cancer Research, or also the EMBL or Max Planck Institutes in Heidelberg. So there are also other research institutes where you can do your master thesis, sometimes even a company, but then you need a co-supervisor from the faculty. All right, before we start the next section of how to study, I have a look in the chat, answer some questions. Oh, yeah, there's a question that some students still can't join in. I think that's because we reached the maximum number of students, but as we're going to record this session, we can later on give them the URL to find the video later on online, and we can also later on answer their questions. So, and there are some ideas to create WhatsApp or Telegram groups or whatever. That's probably a good idea to get to know each other. All right. Cool. The next section is about how to study. And first of all, because this is an online semester, it's most interesting for you to have a look at the websites. So first of all, there's this LSF, which is German for Lehre, Studium, Forschung, or in English, Teaching, Studies, Research. And if you go online, let me quickly do so. I just share my screen. All right. Well, now you should see the LSF. And I'll probably switch to English here as well. I've never watched in English. So then you can see here under courses and course overview all the faculties. So it's
Man kann es gerade nicht sehen, Tom.
Ah,
Oder
okay. I probably have to enable it again. So I have a look if you can see it now. Okay, now you should see it. Cool. Yeah, in this course overview, you can see all the faculties. So if you click on courses, course overview, see all the faculties. And then you can have a look, for example, mathematics and computer science faculty. And interestingly, it's in German again. So it's probably just offered in German, this part. So you go to computer science here, and then the master computer science. And for example, if you want to attend the scientific visualization lecture, you can click here, and then you see all the details. So it's on a weekly basis. Professor Sattler is the teacher. It would have been taken place in this room, but unfortunately now it's online. So you can click on these additional links, and I'll just shared one tab, so probably have to paste it in here. If you're on this website now, then you can see what this lecture is about and what the content is. And most of the lectures already have some information of how they do their online teaching this semester. So here it's presumably on HighConf. But yeah, register in the Moodle course, then you get all the details about it. If you don't have a university account yet, just write an email to the assistants or the lecturer himself, and they'll let you know how to join the first lecture, probably on HighConf or some other online platform. Cool. Another tool is Moodle. Let me quickly open Moodle for you. This is how Moodle looks like once you signed in. And here you can, it's a similar tree-like structure. You can also select the faculty, then your institute, and then the lecturers. And then you find this module here on Moodle, and then you can register for it if you want to. So this is probably where you register for most of the modules in this term. In normal terms, where there's no online lectures, you probably just attend the first lecture, and then they tell you how, if you have to register on Moodle or on some other platforms. That's how it usually works. And yeah, there's actually something that's changed this semester. Moodle used to be on this URL, so elearning2.uni-heidelberg.de. But this is the old Moodle, the old version. Now the new version is under moodle.uni-heidelberg.de. So this is probably the Moodle that you want to go for, because now all the lectures and the modules will be on the new Moodle. So don't be confused if you see the old URL. This is the old Moodle, and this is the new one. And then our faculties have two other platforms that are mostly for organizing the tutorials and also the problem sheet points. But they also do some other cool features. First of all, here's Müsli, which stands in German for Mathematisches Übungsgruppen- und Scheinlisteninterface. This is used by most of the math lecturers, but also some of the computer science lecturers. Yeah, you can just register there with your own email address, so you don't need any university account for that one. And physics has some similar system, which is called Übungsgruppensystem, which is a little bit more powerful. You need your university account for that one. You can also join tutorials in there and lectures. And I think in this term, the physics department is using a lot of the features of this Übungsgruppensystem. So if you're studying physics or probably also computer engineering, it makes sense to register there. So there are a lot of FAQ pages, and especially the one of the physics examinations board is really helpful if you've got any questions regarding your studies, on what you can study and what credits you can get for which area. So have a look on the FAQ pages first. They are really useful. And if you don't find the answer there, just write an email. I show you later on which are your first persons to contact. But the FAQ pages are really helpful as a utility. Then at the moment, it's probably not the good advice for you, but when you're on campus, you can use eduroam. Simply Google eduroam University Heidelberg, then you'll find all the details. Similar, you've got an email address once you've got a university account, so you can just write emails from your official student's account from University Heidelberg. And if you're on campus and want to print something, there's this printing server. You can upload some documents to this printing server and then print them at some of the printing stations on campus. So that's really useful. But of course, at the moment, it's probably not that useful for you. And lastly, your student ID is your magic card. You can do a lot of things with it, like paying for your food in the canteen, or paying for your printing, or paying even for your laundry in your student housing. There are a lot of things you can do with your student card. And it even works for the public transport in Heidelberg, but I cover that later in this talk. Okay, before I start the where to study section, I have a look in the chat. Okay, probably all the questions have been answered by Alex. Thanks for that. Cool. Here you see a map of Heidelberg. So this is the River Neckar. And over here, this is where the campus Neuenheimer Feld is. So this is where all the natural sciences, the medicine, and all the clinics is over here. Then you've got the old town here in the right of the image of the map. This is where most of the humanities are. And here in the center, Campus Bergheim is where all the social subjects are, social studies. And yeah, we'll probably spend most of the time over here, but sometimes you've got some lectures and modules on those two campuses. And of course, here's the Philosophenweg. Here's the Institute for Theoretical Physics, which is quite a nice location. But of course, you have to take a short trip over there to have modules or tutorials over there. First of all, we're going to zoom into this campus Neuenheimer Feld to show you a little bit more in detail where our lectures take place. So first of all, the Mathematikon, which is this building over here, is where the math and computer science and the scientific computing lectures will probably take place most of the time. That's where the faculty is placed, and also where the Institute of Scientific Computing is. Over here, there's some more office space for also for companies or spin-offs of the university, and there's also some small possibility of grocery shopping. If you want to have some lunch, for example, you can just go over there. Physics is located over here. So the first one here is the Kirchhoff Institute for Physics. The second one is the Physics Institute. And the third one now is the Center for Advanced Materials. And there's also a fourth building that's looking also in this black style, which is the Neuromorphic Computing Center. So this is the physics buildings over here. And there's also a physics building over here in the Theoreticum. So with number 308, where also physics lectures take place. Then the library is over here at the moment. So it's in the corner of this Theoreticum building, which is this block here, which is a little bit like a maze. It's sometimes tricky to find the right building, but if you go for the numbers, then you'll probably find it soon, because there's a structure once you go there, and then you find how the structure works and where this building is. So on the ground floor, on the third floor of this building, there's the library for natural sciences. Actually, it's going to move somewhere over here in the next couple of years, because there's a new building. Both large lecture hall is going to be built there, and then also the library is going to move there. But at the moment it's there, and actually at the moment it's probably not open, so you can use their online possibilities to just download your PDF or ebooks from the library if you want to. Yeah, and most importantly, there's also the large canteen here in the center of the campus on Hammerfeld. Yeah, that's where you can have some nice meals. And also there's this cafe if you want to go for a coffee in the afternoon, or even for some beer or pizza in the evening if you want to watch some football over there. There's also some nice social space over there. Cool. As I already said, the Institute for Theoretical Physics is located over here, the Philosophenweg, which is actually one of the nicest walkways in Heidelberg. So if you want to have a nice summer day, you just walk over here, and then you see this nice old building, which is the Institute for Theoretical Physics, located up there. Nice views across the river on the Old Town. And then in the Old Town, you've got the University Library. So this is the main library, this nice old building. You probably won't find a lot of physics or computer science books over there. Also not math books, but the general libraries over there. And they've got some nice study spaces over there. And this building here is the Students Administration Office, the central one. If you need some documents, some official ones, you go there. But often you can get most of the official documents and things done on the campus in the Neuen Hammerfeld over there. So you probably don't have to go here for most of the things. And there's also a nice canteen in the Old Town, which is called Marstall. So if you have lectures in the Old Town, it's really nice to go there for having lunch. Cool. Now, in this section, I'm going to present you whom to ask. There are different persons you can contact for different things. And the first one are the academic advisors. So you probably want to contact them for all your academic questions. So if you're not sure what to study, what modules to take, you ask them. You simply Google Fachstudienberater or Fachstudienberatung, and then you should find the contact page of your academic advisors. It's usually one or two for each of the degrees we offer in Heidelberg. Yeah, they can give you recommendations for choice of courses, also for supervisors. If you know you want to write your thesis in theoretical physics, they can tell you what are the supervisors in this area. So it's sometimes a good idea to ask them for advice if you're new in Heidelberg. And they can also clarify on formalities or regulations. So if you're not sure if you can take this course, just ask them. They should know and can help you. And also for unusual study intentions, they are the first persons to ask. It's really helpful to ask them. in contrast to the academic advisors, there's the examinations office. So this is the real official office for math, computer science, and scientific computing. Is located in the Mathematikon. For physics and computer engineering, is located in the Kirchhoff Institute for Physics. And they are the official persons who acknowledge your modules from abroad, for example, or from your previous studies. That's where you can register your master thesis, and for physics, also your oral exam. And they can clarify on all the decisions about examinations and other regulations. And the examinations office is supervised by the head of the examiners board. This is usually the person whom you want to contact, although the examinations office also has some other people, and there's also the entire board making difficult decisions, but most of the time all the easy decisions are made by the head of examiners board. So it's probably most useful for you to contact this person. And lastly, there's of course also us, the Fachschaft, or your student representatives. We are located in the Mathematikon on the first floor, and you can come with almost every question to us, and we give you some advice on that. If we don't know the answer to your question, we can always give you recommendations whom to ask and refer you to some other contact person, because we know which person can deal with which question. So if you don't know whom to ask, just come to us and we'll redirect you. And we'll also the students who want to join all the student opinions and put them into the faculty committees to improve the courses and the studies in Heidelberg. So if you got some issues during your studies and want to improve something, let us know, or become active in our students council, and then you can also improve your program, for example. And there's also a central student representation in Heidelberg, which is called Studierendenrat, or Stura, an abbreviated version. So this is where all the different student representatives of all subjects are gathered in total, and where central student opinions and student problems are gathered. So this is the central organization where we also belong to. Cool. And lastly, a little bit about the everyday life of how to study in Heidelberg, and what are the nice offers you can use. First of all, there's the Studierendenwerk. So this is the organization which runs the student housing and the canteens in Heidelberg. So probably most of the important things like sleeping and eating. But they also offer advice and counseling. So if you got some financial problems, you need some BAföG, for example, this is run by the Studierendenwerk. And they also offer a nice variety of student events. And for example, in summer, if there's a football championship, they offer some public viewings in the Marstall. But they also offer several parties and nice other events for socializing. And about transportation in Heidelberg, it makes sense to have a bike in Heidelberg because the city is rather small. You can cycle everywhere you want to in about 30 to 40 minutes. And it's probably also good for staying healthy and doing some sports. So having a bike in Heidelberg is really crucial. Also because some of the buses and the trams are not running that regularly, especially during night times. It's probably just every half an hour or every hour that you can catch a bus or a tram. So it's always useful to have a bike in Heidelberg. There's also this VN Next Bike, which is a bike sharing company. And as a student, you get the first 30 minutes for free. Then you can return your bike, and then after 50 minutes, you can borrow it again if you want to. So this is really useful. And there, on the campus and also in the old town, there are a lot of stations where you can get Next Bike. So it's really useful to have this in Heidelberg. And as I already said, your student ID card serves as a ticket on weekends and on every evening after 7 p.m. in the area of the local transport system. So you can, for example, go to Mannheim in the evening, or on weekends have a small weekend trip. This for free if you use your student ID card. But there's also the semester ticket if you want to travel in the public transport area during 24/7 every time. So then you can get the semester ticket, which is a reduced ticket for students, which costs around 170 euros at the moment, I guess. It's the price is increasing every year. So yeah, it really depends on where you live. Sometimes it's worthwhile getting this semester ticket if you live somewhere far away from university. But if you're living close, then it makes sense to have a bike and use the bike. Oh, and I forgot to tell you about the URML. URML stands in German for Universitäres Radreparaturzentrum mit Eigenleistung. So it's basically a small bike shed on the campus Nordheimer where you can repair your bikes if you want to, but you have to do it on your own. There are always people to give you advice and help you, and they've got all the tools for doing so. But you have to repair your bike on your own, which is really useful if you just have a flat tire. You just go there and fix it. They've got all the tools that you need. And yeah, if you want to do some sports in Heidelberg, there's this nice offer from the university to do these university sports. You just Google Hochschulsport, and then you find all different sorts of sports. You can do all the classic sports like basketball, football, whatever, volleyball, but you can also do some really exotic things like canoeing and I don't know. You can even do some skiing in there in the semester break. So just have a look over there. They offer some really nice things. At the moment, it might be tricky because of coronavirus, but during the next years, might be useful for you to have a look over there. And Heidelberg offers a large variety of other cultural things to do in your everyday life. For example, university choir or an orchestra, and there are also various other student groups, some for, I don't know, debating clubs, and some are doing political things. So there's a large variety of associations and clubs. Probably just have a look and find something that's interesting to you, because I think it makes a lot of sense to not only focus on your studies while you're in Heidelberg, but also have just one or two things in your free time that you enjoy doing, because sometimes everyone knows it that your studies suck, then you have a nice thing to do that you probably just sing in your choir and get your head free, and then afterwards you enjoy studying again. So it makes sense to have something that you like doing during your leisure time. A nice special thing about the theaters and orchestras in Heidelberg is that they offer reduced tickets for students just to fill up their audience, and they're usually offered on Thursdays in the canteen. So if you want to see a nice opera for free, that's not for free. Usually it's just, I don't know, 5 euros or something like that. So it's a small price, but compared to the normal tickets, it seems more or less to be free. So it's really cool, this offer. Have a look if there's something nice on there, and then enjoy the show. And there are, of course, a lot of other things in Heidelberg. You can go to the castle, to the zoo, which is really nice. And during Christmas time, of course, the Christmas market in the old town, have the Mule to Wine over there. It's really nice. And in summer, I have a barbecue on the Neckarwiesen, right at the river. So yeah, there's a lot of possibilities to keep you distracted from studying. Yeah, I mean, it's nice to study in Heidelberg. You always have to find the balance between leisure time and studying. That's probably the easiest to put in one sentence. There are a lot of other things you can do, of course. Yeah, some small things for people who haven't lived in Germany before or moved to Heidelberg, for example. It's a good thing to register with the local council. You have to do so within 2 weeks after moving. Yeah, it's just due to legal reasons. And EU citizens can vote in local elections. So, of course, you can only vote if you register, because otherwise you won't get your voting sheets. But yeah, this is a nice opportunity that you should take. And check for your health insurance in Germany. if you're insured or not. And also, if you move to Heidelberg, probably makes sense to look for a doctor, for a GP in Heidelberg, or also for a dentist in Heidelberg. That's what a lot of students forget when they move to Heidelberg to start their studies over there. Cool. And if you want to get some money, to earn some money, there are a lot of student jobs in Heidelberg. You can do some teaching. You can work in research as a research assistant on a small project, which also makes sense if you want to do your master thesis in one of the working groups later on. It's probably a good idea to start there as a research assistant before, to also get to know the working group beforehand. And there are also administrative jobs. I think every one of you is really smart and can do all the has all the computer and IT skills to work in the administration, to help them. Sometimes even just easier things like updating websites. Then you can already earn money for that. So if you need some extra money for your studies, those are good jobs to take. All right, I think that's most of the presentation that I wanted to give you. But most importantly, this talk is most about your questions, your individual ones. So please feel free to ask questions now. I'm trying to answer them. But before we do that, I want to do another poll with you to see for our breakout rooms later on if there are students from all the subjects we offer. I quickly have to type in the answers you can select. Engineering. So quickly just select the program that you're going to study. Then I know how many rooms I have to create for the breakout room and how large they will be. All right. And then we can, we'll probably do the Q&A session, the general one first. So if you get questions that might be of interest for all the programs, ask them first. And if you get some specific program-related questions, we do that later on in the breakout rooms once we finished all the general questions. So I already published the results. So a lot of physics students here. It might be a large room, and the other ones are quite small, so they might be easy to answer all the questions in there. All right, let me have a look. Okay, one of the questions is, what is SFS, which is mentioned on the LSF? What do you mean SWS? So SWS stands for semester Wochenstunden, so it's the weekly semester hours. That's not so interesting for you. It's mostly interesting for the lecturers of how many hours of teaching they are doing. For you, most interesting is the credit points. So the license point is how many credits you earn for a module. But the SVS gives you an idea of how long this lecture takes place. So Hasham, I need some advice on choosing my physics specialization. Who can I contact for that? So you probably want to contact your academic advisors for that, but you can also ask the question later on in the breakout room for physics. There are some physics students who already do the master program. They can perhaps give you some advice. Is an enrollment key in Moodle something that you need for each course or something that you get from administration once you've paid your fees? So once you've paid your fees, you get an account, a university account that you can log into Moodle. But then for each course on Moodle, you need an enrollment key. There are some courses that you can just enroll into without a key, but most of the lectures have an enrollment key that you get from your lecturer each time. So it's a different key for each of the modules. So Oh yeah, that's a good advice by Jan. There's this thing called Dschungelbuch, which lists a lot of student groups, clubs, and associations. Yeah, you can have a look if you want to have an overview over there. There's no information or update regarding fees, like how to pay, and is there any reduction in fees due to current pandemic or online lectures? I'm not sure about that. I haven't heard anything about that yet. I think there won't be any reduction because actually it's a lot more expensive for the university to do online lectures. So they probably might also want to ask you to pay more. No, I don't think so. Yeah, I think fees will just stay the same. And I think you just have to pay them the same way you already did before. So you just do it by bank transfer and do it online in the LSF. Do international students need to pay fee for this semester? Oh yeah, there's some extra fee for international students who are not from the European Union. I'm not sure if this has changed for this term due to coronavirus and the pandemic, but I don't think so. They have changed it yet. So they have to pay a certain amount for studying in Heidelberg. I'm not sure what the exact amount is at the moment, but I think they still have to pay it at the moment. Oh yeah, it's 1,500 euros per semester for international students, which is actually quite a lot, and all the student representatives were against it. So yeah, this might be a thing where students have to get their voices heard in the future to make it free again for everyone. Is it possible to take a course offered in German and do the examination in English? Well, if the course is already offered in German, then it's of course okay to do it in German. Most of the courses, though, are in English in the master program because there are always some international students, and it makes sense to have it in English because all the scientific language is in English. But if the course in general is in German and you want to have your examination in English, please contact the lecturer and they will let you know if they translate it for you so that you can do it in English. Most of the lecturers are quite open to do that, but sometimes it's not really offered because it's too much work to translate all the exam. But yeah, just ask your lecturer about that specific module. How can I register my course? So you don't really have to register it in Heidelberg. You just attend the course and then you have to register for the exam at some point. So you don't have to tell the faculty in advance what courses you're choosing. You just have to do them and then write the exam in the end, and that's more or less how you register your course. So there's, as long as you're on the Moodle course and do the weekly problem sheets and do the exam, you don't have to register for any specific course. In our faculties, if you in your application area, for example, there are some other subjects where you have to register in advance for modules if you want to take them. It's mostly due to organizational issues. So there you have to register. That is usually either on Moodle or on the LSF. But yeah, for most of the physics and computer science and math lectures, you just attend the Moodle course. If there's one, or in the Übungsgruppensystem or Müsli, you just enroll there, but you don't specifically have to register for courses that you want to take them. You can have a look in the first couple of weeks what courses are offered, and then only the ones where you write the exam and do the problem sheets, those are the modules that you take for the semester. But how international students should pay fees? There's lockdown in my country currently, and I'm in my home country. Oh, if there's a difficulty to transfer fees at the moment, just write to the international students office of the university and ask them how to pay the fees, or if you can pay the fees later because you've got some issues with the bank transfer. But usually the preferred way from the university is to do it by bank transfer, that you send them the money. And yeah, but if it's not possible, just contact them. I don't know how they want to deal with it at the moment. How many chances do we have to pass the exam? That's a good question, and it completely varies on the lecture and the program you're on. yeah, most of the time you've got an exam, and if you fail the exam, you've got another chance at the end of the semester break to retry it. So yeah, a resit at the end of the semester break. And if you fail that one again, then you've got the chance to do it the next time the lecture is offered. But that doesn't apply for every lecture. Some of the lectures, you only have one exam, and then the next one is in the next year or whenever the lecture is offered. But yeah, usually you've got 2 tries, and sometimes you've got resits for every try. Yeah, but really depends on the course, on the module. Always ask a lecturer in advance how this lecturer deals with it. So there's a course-by-course selection by whatever online mode the lecturer chooses, and the overall track of total courses a person takes. Yeah, that's exactly the case. So this overall track of the courses a person takes is only visible afterwards, after you've done your exams. Then you hand in, or most of the time they automatically hand it into the examinations office, and then they'll appear in your LSF account on your transcript of records. But you don't have to choose them in advance. You just keep track of them later on. So I googled Fachstudienberater for Heidelberg advising, but it's only in German. Is there an English alternative? Oh, that's I mean, all the academic advisors should be able to give the advice in English as well. Probably the website is only in German. Yeah, probably ask this question later in the breakout room. Then we can specifically answer who is the academic advisor for your subject, and then you can just directly write them an email, and then they can reply to you in English. Or you translate the website with a translation tool, and then you find who your academic advisor is. What is the usual mode of examination? Written, oral, or presentation? That really depends on the lecture size. Small lecturers usually have oral exams. Larger lecturers have written exams. Yeah, it really depends. Sometimes it even depends from year to year, that they change it depending on the size of the course. Can you please explain elaborately that what exactly we have to do in mandatory master's seminar? Oh, that depends on the subject you're studying. I guess you're studying physics. I don't know much about that, but I'll probably ask that question later in the breakout room. There are other physics students who can answer your question perhaps in more detail than I know, because these mandatory master seminars are not in every subject. In computer science, for example, I think you have to do 2 seminars, but you can choose from a large variety of seminars which one you want to take as your seminars. Is the grade of the exam the grade you get in that module? Yes, most of the time it's exactly like this. So the points of your problem sheets don't count into your module grade, only the grade of your exam counts. How is the 6 credit points oral exam different from the module exams? Well, I don't know which 6 credit points oral exam you're referring to. Yeah, I don't know. But yeah, usually your module exams can be oral exams, and depending on how large this module is, you get, I don't know, 6 credits, 8 credits for that one. And there might be some specific oral exams. For example, in physics, there's this oral exam for your master's. If you get these specific questions, probably ask them later in your breakout rooms, because then it's easier to answer the specific questions. Or if you're not interested in taking a certain course anymore after several weeks, if you just want to have a look how this course works, yeah, you can just quit it and don't continue with doing it. So yeah, you don't have to take the course or do the exam if you started it. Usually there's some point in the lecture where you have to register for the exam, and then you simply don't register for the exam. Sometimes it's opt-in, sometimes it's opt-out, so you want to make sure that you opt-out then, so that you don't take the exam. But yeah, usually you can choose if you take the exam or not, so that you don't get a failed try. But yeah, you don't have to decide on doing the exam in the beginning of the semester, which is quite nice. Okay, yeah, the 6 credit points or exam is related to physics. Then probably Jan can answer that, or in the breakout room later. Is there a place to look up the different student groups? Yeah, that's exactly the Dschungelbuch. The link has been posted early on the chat. There, yeah, it's probably not really up to date, this Dschungelbuch. It's a bit older, but most of the student groups, you can find them over there.